Welcome back, everybody, to another edition of Kicking It with Cal. I'm your host, Cal Denicky, and we are back for a new season talking NBA chatter with my guy David Bracy and Brad Harden in the building. David, how you doing tonight?
I'm doing excellent, Cal. Pleasure to be back in the building with two excellent gentlemen here to talk hoops. Let's get it.
Sweet. Brad, what's good with you?
Who getting shucked tonight. I'm riding high right now. The Saints have been a tough, sports season in South Louisiana, but Saints on a little heater, the Pels on the heater, and we getting hot right here in the studio. About to talk hoops today, NBA. So I'm really excited to be back with you all for this new season.
Awesome. So we haven't talked NBA all season, and we're right around Christmas time in the 2025-2026 season. So we want to kind of start back from the beginning and talk about our biggest storyline. So, David, I'm gonna have you kick it off and tell us what do you think has been the biggest storyline so far this NBA season?
Yeah, well, I guess we should start. The storyline to focus on is really a continuation of the storyline from last year. This is where I'm gonna take my victory lap. So for all you people who don't want to hear me talk about the Thunder, you can go ahead and fast forward about 20 minutes. No, I'm just playing. But like the storyline is the Thunder. The Thunder walked through the season last year, walked into the championship, definitely took their shots. I'm not going to say that they just never had any real competition because obviously that wasn't the case, right? But not only did SGA walk away with the MVP, he walked away with the Larry O'Brien trophy. The Thunder came into the season heavily favored, rightfully so. They brought back all of their guys. They have tremendous depth and youth, and everybody likes a villain, right? The league has a villain now. It's clearly the Oklahoma City Thunder. Whether you are about pure ethical hoops or whether you are just sick and tired of seeing the same guys essentially getting the same calls that we've seen guys like James Harden get in the past. We still see guys like Trey Young get currently. There are many free throw merchants, if you will. SGA is just the most recent of a product that is as old as the NBA in itself, right? And he's a superstar. He's a superstar who gives favoritism. He's going to get those calls. And as a result, he's now got a target on his back. Everybody on the Thunder does. So the biggest storyline for me is who is going to knock these guys off of their pedestal. We saw the Spurs do it in the NBA Cup. Everybody loved that. Everybody celebrated it. Wembanyama is clearly a force of nature and a force to be reckoned with. And more recently, we saw the Thunder get, again, their third loss on the season. Let's keep that in perspective here. Three losses going into Christmas. Okay, let's chill. But Anthony Edwards was giving them that work. Okay, he is a bad man. So with every loss the Thunder get, it feels like the Super Bowl, feels like the NBA Finals, feels like everything for the team who gets the victory, right? How long will that trend continue? And ultimately, will it matter? Will the regular season losses the Thunder get end up mattering and keep them from getting back to the championship? I'm not so sure. So time will tell.
Can I take a slight victory lap because I was just too early on the Pistons? Can I do that real quick? I mean, because the Pistons, I mean, if you're looking at the standings now, and you think that we're back in '04, we're not. We are in the year 2025 of our Lord and Savior, and the Pistons are number one in the Eastern Conference right now. So that is one of the bigger stories right now is their success. Cade Cunningham's MVP candidacy is just growing by the day. Jalen Duren continues to grow as a player. Everyone knows about him in, but they're all looking at a Sword Thompson and just all the pieces that they have in Motown right now and trying to figure that out as they try to gear for a deep postseason run and potentially challenge, the Knicks and the Cavs in the Eastern Conference, which I'm sure we're going to talk about the Cavs later. But to me, that is the biggest story. And if we stay in the Eastern Conference, the question mark about Giannis's future, will that decision happen during the season? Off season. There's leverage. There's questions about is he really hurt, which I think he is. But there's just a lot of question marks because if Giannis moves, that's certainly going to shake the landscape of the NBA, current and obviously for the near future for whoever pulls the trigger and makes that trade. So those are the two big things, in my opinion, that have been the biggest storylines going into this season. And one other thing that I'll hop on board because I know we'll talk about it a little bit later.
Yeah. And we were clowning you 2 years ago for jumping on the Pistons, saying everybody watch out. And they had their 28 game losing streak that year. But flash forward to this year, 13 game win streak, top of the East. And it's really cool to see some teams that haven't been successful in a while be good. And as you mentioned, Cade Cunningham, he's the real deal, an MVP candidate, and I love what they're doing too. My biggest storyline, though, has to go down to San Antonio with the emergence of Victor Wembanyama and the Spurs and what they've been able to do. And for me, looking at their roster preseason, I just thought they were a few years away with all the young talent they have at the guard spot with Dylan Harper, De'Aaron Fox coming over from the trade from Sacramento. Stephon Castle, who I said a few years ago was going to be the best player in that draft class, and it's looking pretty good so far. So they're a little bit ahead of schedule, and I think they're taking the league by storm, and just something to watch out. I mean, I don't really think they are going to be in contention for the finals or Western Conference Finals, but they could surprise some people. And to see Wembanyama's emergence has been pretty neat. So. Um, Speaking of surprises, I wanted to ask you guys about for this first half of the season and before Christmas, what surprise in either the East or the West feels sustainable to you? Maybe a team that you didn't expect to be where they're at, but you could see this continuing to happen for good causes.
I think for me, the bar maybe is a little bit lower for what successful sustainability looks like for this team, but I do think that it is a trend that we should pay attention to and kind of give some credit to. That's the Phoenix Suns. They were in purgatory. Like it did not look great, right? They traded everything for KD. They brought him in there, couldn't really stay healthy, couldn't really win a playoff series, kind of just flamed out and ended up really at best probably being a wash. Devin Booker also in and out of the lineup with injuries. These are things that you can't really control, but mortgaging your franchise for one superstar, you absolutely can. So that didn't work out for them. They have a new coach now. They have a new identity, this kind of like grit and grind, if you will, similar to what we've seen in the past from, iterations of the Memphis Grizzlies. But really the goal here, and I think that this is something that the team has bought into across the board, right, is play with heart and play with intention. And while some intentions maybe suspicious and sus. Dylan Brooks. We never really know what this dude is on, but it's usually the floor, okay? Because he just can't keep himself out of trouble, right? But overall, the hustle is there. The defensive mentality is there, and like the core of their team is relatively young, right? This new coach has an opportunity to build a culture there. They are surprisingly, like playing pretty competently in games. So I think that this is a trend that is sustainable. Am I saying the Phoenix Suns are going to make some noise in the postseason? No. But could they ruin somebody's playoff hopes in the play-in? Oh, absolutely. I think so. So this is the team to keep an eye on. I know that it gets cold in the Valley of the Sun, but there are brighter days ahead. So we're gonna make it through this long midnight here. The sun will shine once again. And as long as Devin Booker's in the Valley, things could be worse, right? So, Brad, I know you probably have a different take or an opinion. What's a team that you've been keeping your eye on as far as the sustainability trend for success moving forward?
Oh, some people were high on this team, and rightfully so because of how they ended last year. But I'm staying in the Western Conference, and I'm going to talk about the Clippers. Uh, when I say sustainable, as far as like they're bad right now, they're 7-21 as we speak. Will they sustain this? Probably. It does not look great. I mean, everyone clowns, my organization, obviously, Derek Queen in the background, New Orleans Pelicans, F them picks. But I mean, that was very bold. That was a very bold stance that Joe Dumars took in New Orleans. And for the Clippers, it's just they made it to the playoffs. It was competitive first round exit last year. Harden looked great. I mean, they did have Norman Powell on that team, who's now in Miami. But you bring back Zubac, you bring back a lot of pieces, you bring in a lot of vets, and you think that on paper, they are going to potentially at least get back to the playoffs and maybe go around further, maybe make some things interesting if obviously the big elephant in the room is health when it comes to an older roster in the NBA. And you have people like Kawhi Leonard, who, I mean, sometimes a no-show, but shows up on the bench. I mean, it's drama. You got the Chris Paul saga of him, basically saying this is his last year. Things don't go well behind the scenes. If you're into, Young and the Restless, All My Children, all those soap operas, that is something that you and your lady, or you and your homies, y'all can go look into that because that is a tragic, tragic end as far as a relationship that was kickstarted back in the early 2010s with the Clippers and Chris Paul, but how it came crashing down, and you have a beautiful arena, and you have a bunch of people that careers are sunsetting at this point, and you don't own your pick next year. So until things get better, I don't think they will. You're going to hear a lot of trade rumors swirling, crazy ones. Talking about trading Kawhi, which will never happen. But Zubac is more realistic. There's some other older pieces that can help contribute to people who are actually trying to win this year. So as far as it being sustainable, they're going to continue to be bad because I think they just dug themselves into a really, really deep hole to start this regular season.
And
To
I
dig a deep hole to plant a tree, Brad. And the Clippers love to plant trees, Steve Ballmer specifically. So I think that was intentional. We'll see just
And
how
a
many
tree
trees
for
they
your
did plant.
tomorrow, Arbor Day, baby. Hey,
Yes,
that's
that's right.
endorsement right there.
The board man gets paid one way or another. Apple time.
And I was a year early on the Clippers kind of tankathon. I said last year that was going to be a bad team, and they surprised a lot of people. So we're a year or two off for a few of these hot takes that we've been saying. But if I had to take my sustainable team, that'd be the Boston Celtics. I didn't have a lot of expectations for them going into the year, seeing what happened to Jason Tatum last postseason. But surprisingly, a 15-11 start, fourth in the East, and Um, I was really up in the air with how I thought this team would do because you lose a player like Tatum, who's a top 10 guy in the league, and you just don't know how sustainable that will be. But Joe Mazzulla is a maniac of a coach. He's not going to lose, and he has the next guy step up. I thought Anthony Simons going from Portland to Boston was a big acquisition for them. Portland was never really on national television. I never got to see him play much, but I've seen him play a little bit this year, and he's doing his thing despite not being in the starting lineup for the first time in his career. Um, but Jaylen Brown stepping up in Tatum's spot, averaging 30 a game, I think is huge for them. And there's rumors that Tatum could come back towards the end of the season. I don't know how smart that would be for Boston, or if they feel like because the East is down this year, this could be something that they could go and get. But we'll see. I do expect them to be in the playoffs, and they've got good guard play with Peyton Pritchard, Derek White, and Simons. So we'll see. Their front court isn't the most reliable, but they've been playing pretty decent so far. So we'll see how Boston can shape out. So. Brad, I wanted to switch to a question I've been interested to hear what you guys have had to say. And this is going to talk about a young duo in the league that looks like a future cornerstone to you. So take this wherever you'd like to go. Who have you liked seeing, hearing about, watching from anywhere who you think is going to be a future cornerstone in this league?
Well, I gave the answer away. I mean, I got this guy behind me, Derek Queen. What they have in New Orleans with the Queen and Fears, I know was met with a lot of scrutiny because people value and sometimes in this instance overvalue picks. But with the talent, the young talent that we're seeing right now coming up the ranks and making immediate impact in today's NBA, really, I mean, those picks are more valuable. And so I get the fire that the Pelicans organization went through when essentially to some people mortgaging the future to trade up to get Derek Queen in the first round last year when they already drafted obviously Fears at 7 overall as well. But from early on in the regular season, what we've seen from those two, the record doesn't look great. I mean, they are on a 4 game winning streak right now. They're no longer in the bottom of the standings in the NBA right now, just momentarily. I mean, there's ebbs and flows, but it is really promising. I mean, we have Fears, Zero Fears, great marketing tool right there. Number Zero Fears. He looks like the point guard of the future for this franchise, and he's taking his lumps. I know that was one of the big things that I was concerned as a fan was turnovers when you're handling the ball that early. You're gonna have if you're gonna have the ball in your hands a lot, you're gonna turn the ball over a lot. So just growth and maturity there. And the same thing with Queen being one of the better, if not the best playmaker on that team already as a rookie. And the numbers that they're putting up, I mean, they're both averaging over double figures. Queen shows his playmaking ability, Fears attacking downhill, getting to the cup, even when he's undersized. I know, like to the average casual NBA fan, you're going to look at the Pelicans record and you're going to listen to this and think, Brad, you're smoking something. But I think there is something there. Obviously, if they win more than 33 games, in my opinion, this year, I'm throwing a pizza party for them because I'm not expecting a lot from that franchise. But I think they got this right now, but I still think there's some moves to be made in New Orleans. So I think this is the potentially good start down in New Orleans with that duo of Fears and Queen.
Zero fears. I just put that together. So yeah, maybe get the jersey ordered. Who knows?
It's either him or Queen. It's either, one of the two. One of the two. I'm getting one of those very soon.
All right, Dave, what you got for us?
I just also want to say I'm a big fan of Derek Queen, aka the Big Easy, aka the Louisiana Purchase. Okay, let's just get that name out there right now. This man is a problem, just like Brad told you. So that is the jersey I think you need to get if I had to pick one. Speaking of big purchases, the Rockets spent a lot of money. See on my shirt here. The Rockets spent a lot of money last season on Sengun, $185 million contract. And although he is not the Louisiana Purchase, he has been a Turkish delight. Let me tell you, ladies and gentlemen, this man has absolutely been balling. Let's talk about it. Averaging almost 24 points a game, 9.5 rebounds, 7 assists, shooting 35% from the 3-point line. This man might make all NBA. He is definitely an all-star. He is playing like he is one of the best 15, best 20, best 12 players in the NBA right now. I mean, he's a problem. He is not Jokic. Don't get it twisted. But he is the closest thing we probably got in this league right now. And he is a force to be reckoned with on both sides of the ball. The Rockets have a stacked team, and Sengun has become a real centerpiece. Over the summer, you heard a bunch of rumors about maybe Sengun will be the person that they move whenever Giannis decides he's ready to get out of Milwaukee. Doesn't sound like they want to make that deal now. Sounds like Sengun is a core part of what they view the future of that franchise is. So if you're not familiar with him, get in tune with my boy Sengun. Okay, you heard it first on Cal's Pod. Okay, from the clairvoyant three. Okay, and yet like we have acknowledged, we may be early. We may be early, but that doesn't mean we're wrong. It doesn't mean we're wrong. Just be patient. Be patient. This is the talk right now. This is the part of the podcast where we turn into that little rabbit from Twitter with the little clock, and I point at it and I'd say, soon, soon, soon. They're saying good.
And there's some guys that when I watch on the TV, they just pop off the TV. The first time I saw Jalen Williams for the Thunder play, I couldn't, I was like, who is this guy? He was just jumping off the screen. And Şengün as well. Like he just controls the game. He's very good with his feet. He obviously has a huge lineup around him. And man, as soon as KD went to the Rockets, I knew I was going to be excited to watch them. But he has just ascended, which I think has been super cool. Um, I'm gonna go out east for my pick and go with the duo of Tyrese Maxey and VJ Edgecombe. So we've heard about Maxey for a few years, and it wasn't until I would say Joel Embiid started getting his serious injuries where we thought, I don't know where this Philly roster's going. What are they planning on doing for the future? And it's clear that this is Maxey's team and Maxey's city. And it only took a year or two for the fans to get off the Embiid bandwagon because they were on it for a long time. And it's been slowly going downhill. But as his injuries have started to accrue, Maxey's game has just elevated and he's averaging 31 a game. He's super dynamic. Just love his downhill ability. He can shoot it as well. And then to bring in the rookie from Baylor, VJ Edgecombe, who's averaging 15 points a game with a top five lottery pick. I just think they've got a good thing going. Brad, last year you had mentioned Jared McCain being who you thought would be the best rookie from his class. He's been a little slow this year, but injuries have helped that out. So I do like what they're doing in Philly. Obviously, the Embiid thing is up in the air, but with Maxey and Edgecombe, I think they've got a very, very good future in the backcourt.
I throw a quick deep cut to this. Quick deep cut. I mean, we've already mentioned, the people that you guys mentioned. I mentioned Cade and Duran earlier. I think that's a foundation, no duo that's pretty good in Detroit. We mentioned Wemby, obviously Castle. I think that is a good launch spot in San Antonio. But a deep cut. I'm gonna say Con Knipple and Kyle Brenner in Charlotte. I like this draft class in Charlotte. They're competing, they're playing well. They have to figure out LaMelo, but between Brandon Miller, Bridges right now, how he's playing, and Con Knipple kind of facilitating scoring. I mean, I think he is the favorite, right? I mean, he and Cooper Flag are probably the favorites for Rookie of the Year right now. So I think they did a really good job, and obviously getting Kyle Brenner, the 7-footer, to anchor the post, which they've been really looking for the last, I mean, pretty much since the entirety of their existence as a franchise outside of the Al Jefferson years. So I think they have finally found what they need to build upon in Charlotte. So I want to throw that as a deep cut just to, pencil it in and look forward to some Charlotte Hornets success in the near future.
And speaking of jumping off the screen, I watched Charlotte play Detroit last night, and Con Knipple jumped off the screen. I'd been hearing about everything he's been doing, and he was taking shots on every possession. He knows the game really well. He brought the whole team over to his parents' house in Milwaukee when they were playing the Bucks, which I thought was a super cool story because they were like, "Where are we going out to eat?" And he's like, "Oh, I'm going to my parents." And they go, "Well, hop on the bus." So could you imagine a charter bus going down his neighborhood and all his former neighbors just looking at, the entire NBA team walking out. And they said they made 25 pounds worth of chicken fajitas for the whole team, which I thought was just super dope. So shout out to the Knipples. I think he's got four younger brothers too. So we might be calling out their names in a few years as well, Dave.
Hey, we love a family story. But yeah, you're right. Conker Nipple can ball. We noticed that, especially during March Madness last season. That dude had tremendous feel. You could see it in those games during the tournament. And even though Duke did not win, they clearly won the draft. They had some serious heavy hitters that walked out of that organization. I expect that trend to continue going into this upcoming NBA draft as well.
And speaking of rookies, Dave, we talked about Con Knipple. Who are some other rookies that have kind of jumped out to you and started to make an impression early on in this season?
Honestly, you guys stole my smoke. I mean, Conkin like that dude, I think is an absolute dog. I'm really loving what I'm seeing. And to be honest with you, the amount of confidence I'm assuming that franchise has in Conkin that continues to grow by the day, I think will make it easier for them to ultimately decide what they do with the LaMelo Ball situation, as we all have kind of acknowledged. That is the elephant in the room. How far can your franchise really go when your franchise player loves to shoot one-legged threes with 20 seconds on the clock? Don't know. It's great TV. It's not so great in the NBA. So they got to figure that out. But Concanipple brings a level of offensive continuity to their team that I think that they lacked prior. I think him and Brandon Miller together work really, really well. As you said, Ryan Kalkbrenner has been great for them down low after they really just kind of randomly sold Mark Williams, and everybody was like, "What's the deal with that? This guy's solid. Kind of seems like you need a center." But apparently they found their center. So I'm really liking what I'm seeing with that. So I'm gonna stick with the Hornets. Buzz, buzz. Okay, Con Knipple. Again, get your jerseys while you can. Okay. Like Con, if you can hear this, I'm trying to come over for dinner. So let me know. Let me know. I'll pull up with the fixins, whatever y'all need.
Yep. And Brad, you had mentioned Jeremiah Fears and Derek Queen being the two stud rookies for New Orleans, but what do you think about Cooper Flag? What do you think about Cedric Coward? What about some of these other guys who we think this rookie class is going to be one of the best in a while?
And it's funny because I feel like we give Cooper Flag his flowers early on, but we don't at the same time. And I think the NBA is doing a really good job of highlighting, all the rookies. I mean, we mentioned a whole bunch in this pod already, probably most in any pod that we've done. But what Cooper Flag is doing and the numbers he's putting up rivals only one person at in their rookie season, and that's LeBron James. Just his ability to score, to facilitate, to rebound. Obviously, he plays with a high IQ. I mean, probably one of the best plug and play players coming into their rookie season ever. I mean, and I don't think that is a stretch to say. And this is and you're putting a lot on his plate. He's playing a lot of minutes. He's doing some facilitating. I mean, I'm gonna talk a little bit more about the Mavs a little bit later. But I mean, this kid is, he's checking all the boxes early on. And I think if it wasn't for the other headlines, the future of AD, firing Nico during the season. Still, people getting hounding that organization for trading Luca. There's so much, and then people maybe questioning how they got the number one pick. I think there's a lot of other headlines that are really overshadowing how great this kid is playing out the gate. So I'm excited to see him. Guys, Christmas Day, 5 p.m. Eastern time. I'm gonna go ahead and say this now. If you have not watched this kid and you've already opened your presents, or it's before dinner, you ate lunch, I don't care what the family schedule is for Christmas. You make some time for Cooper Flag because he is a true stocking stuffer on Christmas Day. So and he's going against Steph Curry in the Warriors. Need I say more? So I'm just gonna plug that game for what it should be.
Well, you ain't got to watch the Kansas City Chiefs on Christmas night because that ship has sailed. So you might as well tune in to Cooper Flag, the Mavs, Curry, and the Warriors because, NBA's for Christmas. LeBron said it best.
Yeah, Kansas City
That he
Chiefs
did.
are yuck. Yuck. Okay, but Cooper is a hooper. So definitely tune in to the NBA slate on Christmas and especially for the Mavericks game. That'll be worth watching.
Cool. And there have been some underperforming teams this year. Um, David, I'll start with you. Who do you think makes a leap the second half of the season? Who has underperformed in your opinion, but you think whether it's returning from injuries or getting their chemistry right, who kind of makes a leap in that category for you?
For me, it's a team that Brad actually used to cover, and it's the Atlanta Hawks. I think that not having Trey Young, for as problematic as he can be, both on and off the court at times, not having their offensive engine significantly limits their ceiling. Let's just be real here. Trey Young is unequivocally one of the best point guards in the NBA. That is not a debate. You can argue with your mama, don't argue with me. Uh, but they were missing him. Having him back now is going to make a tremendous difference. And they have some really talented players around him. Dyson Daniels is a problem on defense. Jalen Johnson, looking like MIP. To be honest with you, like I mean, it's him and Denny Avdia just kind of like throwing bows at each other for that award, in my opinion. But I favor Jalen Johnson because he is a problem. And like you said, Cal, he's one of those guys that when you watch him, he jumps out of the screen and oftentimes jumps over your favorite player. So you will notice who he is very quickly. So I think for those reasons, not only to mention the Hawks really haven't had Kristaps Porzingis this season. Not that I really count on him playing a significant role for them moving forward, but again, this is a valuable player and a body that they're missing. And most importantly, I think the Hawks are going to be buyers. I do not see the Hawks finishing the season with the team that they currently have. They have the pick from New Orleans. They have interest from a player like Giannis Antetokounmpo, and frankly, I mean, they have the assets to make something like that happen. Do I know for sure who they will end up bringing in? No, but I am confident that they will make a move to bolster their roster because the East is pretty open right now. You could say, so why not have the Hawks try to enter that conversation? And I think having their team healthy and full will definitely help them kind of step into that role.
And speaking of the East being open, a team that I thought would run away with the East with the Knicks is the Cleveland Cavaliers, who are 15 and 12 right now, sitting in seventh place in the East. So that's going to be my pick for who makes a leap. Um, all the talent in the world. I've been rocking with Donovan Mitchell since his days at Louisville. The dude is a bona fide playoff performer, and they need to step up, and I think they will, and I think they're going to be in some battles this playoffs. I know they had an early exit in the playoffs last year, but I think taking those bumps and bruises will ascend them and put them over the top. And it's been kind of surprising to see them struggle a little bit, but I think they start to get things going. Um, with Darius Garland and Donovan Mitchell being a very dynamic backcourt, you were kind of thinking of who are they going to try to continue to work with, and who, and in my opinion, Donovan Mitchell is the guy. I know Garland's had some injury problems, and he's a little bit younger, but I see Cleveland making a leap. Brad, who you think is going to make a leap from a little bit of an underperforming start?
It's actually a team that I've already mentioned. I'm going to go with the Dallas Mavericks. And I know there was a lot of people who were kind of, hit or miss on the Mavericks as far as, they were not great last year, but they weren't number one pick bad. So it goes to show you that you add Cooper Flag and on paper with the moves that they made, retaining a lot of the roster with PJ Washington, you still have Gafford, likely, obviously Anthony Davis is on that team. Kawhi should come back at some point. You go and get D'Lo. Like on paper, you look at that team and think, okay, maybe they should be a play-in team. And right now, they are just a game and a half out. And a lot of the problems have to do with health and availability on that roster. There's been a slew of players, including Anthony Davis, that has not been healthy throughout the whole season. Cooper Flag has probably been the mainstay in that lineup right now, and he is your least experienced player on that roster. So that says a lot. They also have not solidified the point guard position. It's kind of been a merry-go-round of D'Lo, Brandon Williams, and Ryan Nebhart down in Dallas right now. And I think right now Nebhart is the best of the three. But still, I mean, you kind of just need a placeholder, or they might have to be a buyer and go bring someone in, depending on how this team can trend going forward. Because when you look at the size, especially at the wing position and the front court they have, they're on paper, and they are currently the seventh best defensive team in the NBA. Their problem is offensively right now. You're putting a lot on Cooper Flag, like I mentioned earlier. You don't really have an identity at the point guard position, so that's why there's only two teams worse offensively than you. But you're still only just 11 and 18, a game and a half out from that final playing spot, and they're going to be jockeying with teams like the Trailblazers, the Jazz, the Grizzlies, and if you just look on paper and not look backwards in the timelines of those respective teams or forwards, right now on paper, the Dallas Mavericks are a better team than those other three that I mentioned in the Trailblazers, Jazz, and Grizzlies. So depending on how they trend, they could be maybe some buyers at the trade deadline, but if not, I could definitely see them being sellers. Maybe a Najee Marshall or PJ Washington or Gafford is shelved out to try to continue to build for the future, since you know what you have in Cooper Flag. So they're going to be a team, I mean, outside of Christmas Day, outside of just Cooper Flag itself, but just as an organization, as they move in a different direction. What's the rest of the season going to hold, and what's their future going to hold? So I think that they could make a flip, but I can also see it continuing to trend in the same direction as well.
hmm and speaking of trends, we just finished up with the NBA Cup, the New York Knicks. Congratulations, third annual NBA Cup winners over the San Antonio Spurs. So, David, I wanted to talk about your thoughts on just the in-season tournament. You know, probably 5 years ago, we heard about rumblings of Adam Silver putting this in the league, and what does that look like? How does it tie into your record? And now, 3 years in to you, is it working? Is this something that's catching the casual fan's eye? And kind of what could you discuss? You know, we've been talking about it for a few years on this pod, but do you see any growth being made? And from the casual fan's perspective, what does it look like to you?
Yeah, I think the NBA has a problem in regards to the NBA Cup. I mean, and it's a good problem to have, right? Because you have a product that has value. The issue is, how do you capitalize on that value, and more importantly, I think, how do you demonstrate that value to your audience? The value has not been demonstrated to the audience. They have not done a great job really motivating and enticing people to even not only attend these games when they occur within the regular season schedule, but the tournament in itself. I mean, $1,000 for one of these games, essentially. Um, and you don't even know what teams are going to be playing in the tournament until really like a moment's notice. It could just be structured in a way that would really, I think, motivate and kind of inspire the fans to want to be a party to those games. Because really, the lack of attendance is a huge, L. Because I mean, you're watching these games and you're just seeing all these empty seats. It felt like the bubble. You know what I mean? It felt like the pandemic at some points. I'm like, where is everybody? This is Vegas, and there's still nobody at these games. I don't understand that. So the NBA needs to figure that out, and it kind of seems like they're trying to they're trying to sit on the fence right now, because there's rumors and rumblings about them potentially moving the NBA Cup in its entirety to Abu Dhabi. We kind of saw this coming, right? Because it's no longer called the NBA Cup, right? It's called the Emirates Cup, and the UAE is not in the USA. So what's going on here? Money talks, and we know there's a lot of money over there. So, do they end up dragging that event across seas for the sort of like global marketization? Possible if the NBA values finances over fans. If they value fans, they will keep it here because the fans are essentially the lifeblood of the teams, like the teams are based here. I don't know how many fans you think are going to go to Abu Dhabi when they ain't going to Las Vegas. So that is a problem. But as recently as today, you heard Brian Windhorst sort of like pontificating that perhaps a solve would be to move the NBA Cup championship to the All Star game weekend. I think that sounds like an awesome idea, right? Because the All Star game and the All Star weekend in itself, again, we're talking about a product that should have value that has not had appeal. Here's a way that you could potentially save two sinking ships with one culminating event. So, Adam Silver, I know that you're a longtime listener and a subscriber to Cal's channel. Please give us a call. We would love to workshop this with you. We're happy to discuss this either on camera or off, whatever's best for you, your commissioner, your eminence. But yeah, they need to make a decision here because the rubber's meeting the road really, really quickly. And if a team is going to come to Vegas, that team is probably going to want to see consistent, you know, fan attendance. And again, if the premier event for the regular season is a no-show from the average NBA fan, what does that look like for a franchise setting up shop in that city when you already got a clearly established franchise that is clearly loaded with talent? Shout out Asia, okay? Like the Aces are doing their thing, so you don't want to show up and be the Globetrotters to the Aces, okay? You got to put a quality product out there. Vegas got some things to figure out. The NBA's got some things to figure out, but ultimately, I think that the cup has yet to runneth over. If anything, I think the cup is half empty. We need build to the top. I need bottomless. I need bottomless, Cal. And right now we're bottoming out.
And if the Emirates Cup finals are looking like a first quarter of a Miami Heat game with that many empty seats, then we got to fix something. But as you mentioned with the Windhorse comments, I think that's a great idea. That the All-Star Weekend has been looking for juice for a long time. It's been steadily declining, and I think that would be a great idea. For me personally, I don't love all the floors. Like my eyes kind of bug out if I see a bright green floor in Boston or, a bright red floor in Philly, and to me that's I understand you're trying to do something different to get the fans' attention for, it's something different, but just for me, I don't really rock with that. I do think the players are playing a little bit harder with the financial incentive, and it's kind of cool to, see how something different's happening to try to catch the eye because we all know the NFL has a chokehold on America through the Super Bowl. So the NBA is trying to do things to catch those eyes, but um, in general, I agree with you where there's not much to look forward to. Brad, do you have any other ideas?
I don't want to continue to, kick the can down the road, but you did mention something that I actually was going to give a positive to. I do think the players are bought into it because if you watch the regular season games, knowing that, points scored means something in the cup games, and you're seeing them trying to score as many points late in the game when you normally see the courtsmanship of, running the clock out when you know you've won a game. No, they're all trying to hit their marks and still scoring and competing. And I think that that is a good product that they have put out. I think the thing that they're missing early on is going to take time. Obviously, the logistics and the semantics around the cup is what we've all kind of, harped at tonight. But I say the biggest thing is creating just an organic moment. If you have a product or a cup like this, Super Bowl, NBA, playoff baseball, a lot of things that bring fans back to a product are moments that happen. And I think that this was the first year potentially where you see obviously the Spurs beating the Thunder and that being a big moment in an NBA Cup game. And you see the Knicks winning. Could that be the moment we look back to say, hey, this moment when they play meaningful games early in the season, and it's good to have meaningful early games as well and get that intensity early in the season. But could that be the moment the Knicks point back to and say, you know what, we've done it in this moment. It was a smaller sample size. We know what we need to improve on if we want to do this thing for real come postseason. And so I think moments are what is missing out of the cup, and that just comes with time. But I definitely think the logistics do need to be ironed out. I agree with both your points, but that's something that I feel that had happened a little bit with this cup during this year. But hopefully it could continue to happen. Hopefully here on U.S. soil in front of fans and continue to create some storylines so that, add some more life into the regular season that it can be long and daunting.
Yeah, and as we start to look through Christmas Day being a huge day for the NBA, you fast forward to January from the American sports landscape, you've got NFL playoffs. And for me, college basketball conference season in January is huge to watch, and I'm going to be watching a lot of that. February, obviously, we have the Super Bowl, and then you start to get into that NBA playoff area where we all love watching every night. So as the landscape starts to change, you want to find moments, as you mentioned, Brad, to catch people's eyes. So one thing that's caught my eye this year is a lot of big time players going down with injuries, talking about Damian Lillard, Tyrese Halliburton, and Jason Tatum all for last year. And Brad, I want to start with you. Spending some time growing up in St. Louis, where I kind of associate Jason Tatum having a personal coach in Drew Hanlon who does specialized workouts with him. And the question I want to ask to you, and I'm sure, a lot of parents and coaches could relate, is just specialization from an early age in athletes. And do you feel like that is hurting athletes in terms of these injuries that we're seeing, especially Achilles injuries, going back to KD's injury back in 2019, a lot of the things that we've seen, talking about muscles that kids are training, and a lot of kids only playing one sport, probably more likely now than they were in the past. But it's an overarching question of kids' youth development leading to more injuries. So you can take that where you want.
Being a exercise science major, this is actually right on my alley. I actually did a study on this loosely in college because I know I was a person that played multiple sports growing up. And but I understand, when you're a parent and you want your kid to get to that high level. I know at some point I had to specialize, but I was in high school. And we're talking about kids playing AAU ball, 8, 9 years old. We know the travel schedule. We know how many games they play in a day. And I know the 10,000 hour rule is you master a skill from 10,000 hours of work added. And whether that's a jump shot, whether that's a move, whether it's this and that. It's a lot of like little movements that repeat and, exit and learn how to execute when you're tired, when you're training in the off season. That's what a lot of these players do because you want to put all your eggs in your basket because that's your craft. But I do think that when you continually overuse and over uh, repeat motions and using different muscles, that does lead to wear and tear. And I think that does translate into some of the injuries that we're seeing. Maybe it's due to a bunch of overusage and not enough rest or nutrition. There's a bunch of different, things that can go into this. But all in all, I do think that some of the best athletes that we've seen in some of the sports across the board, take Mahomes for example. He was a football player, but he was also a hooper and he played bat and played baseball. Obviously, he was genetically gifted because dad being an MLB pitcher. But he played multiple sports where you're not just using that throwing motion from football repeatedly. It's a different throwing motion when you're throwing a baseball, as you would know, being a, former college baseball player yourself, Cal. So, I mean, I think that it's value in learning skills from other sports and working different motions and stuff because it makes you a more well-rounded athlete and you're not overusing and over repeating certain motions. So I think that may have a causation to a lot of the injuries that we do see, just a lot of calf strains now, muscle strains. Those weren't things that were prevalent, or maybe with medicine and tracking, they're being reported more. But you didn't hear about that about 10, 15 years ago. So I think that there is something to that trend and potentially that causation that you mentioned.
Yeah, not a doctor, but I will just say that I think that when you are a young athlete, the more variety that you can create in your athletic regimen and routine, the more well-rounded of an athlete you will become. As you get older, specialization will play a key role in how far you can go in your athletic career. But like I said, I think a solid base, more specifically a wide base, is the way to play it. So I think that it's good, like we all agree, to kind of have that experience with multiple sports because if anything, it just makes you more flexible, more adaptable to whatever sort of situations that you may find yourself in over the course of your athletic career.
Yeah, and I want to encourage all kids to play multiple sports. And, this could be a conversation for its own podcast of, AAU scene in America and how much kids are spending to go on these weekend trips every weekend, play multiple games. And you're losing, like, for instance, an in-house league. If we take any sport, for example, like baseball, for instance, you're not having as many in-house leagues where you can just compete against the kids in your town because as a parent, you feel like your kid is getting behind the eight ball. So I got to put him in a travel league, spend thousands of dollars, and all of a sudden we're losing community in that. And, you're having a great experience playing in these tournaments, but how many of those kids are going to end up playing college sports? How many are going to end up getting burnt out because they've been traveling since they were 10 years old? So we'll put a pin in that, maybe come back to it for a future episode. But um, I did want to talk, and I'm interested to hear who you guys chose for this. I'll go ahead and start. As an underrated player this NBA season, who do you enjoy watching? And I love defense. It's probably because I couldn't play it as a player. So Jaden McDaniels for the Minnesota Timberwolves at 6'10" with a 7-foot wingspan. I've loved his game since he entered the league back in 2020. He's just so long. He plays with this just kind of stone cold killer face, shows no emotion. The opposite of his counterpart, Anthony Edwards, who wears it on his sleeve and is, shooting the crowd after he's putting a dagger in the Thunder the other night. But I love McDaniel's game. He can shoot it too. He's averaging 16 points a game. I enjoy watching Minnesota play. They're very versatile and the different positions they have and what they can do on both sides of the court. So that's my underrated player who maybe the casual fan doesn't know as much about. But with Anthony Edwards getting all the shine for Minnesota, I think he does a very good job playing Robin to Ant's Batman. So Dave, who's an underrated player you enjoy?
Well, to be honest, I don't know how he's still underrated because he was sixth man of the year last year. But Peyton Pritchard has been balling, man. He has been balling again. Like people were just writing off the Celtics, maybe rightfully so because they lost their best player for what we assumed was going to be the entirety of their season. But Peyton Pritchard is going crazy. I mean, this dude is dishing it. He is scoring it. He is really, I mean, a key cog in the offensive engine of the Boston Celtics. Him and Jalen Brown have been doing this little 1-2 man show as of late and I'm loving it. And my favorite part, I think, about Peyton Pritchard's game is how he elevates everybody around him. And obviously, we're not talking about a guy who elevates like the guy behind me. Okay, there are levels to this. There are levels to everything. Okay, people, I'm not saying that, so don't hear something I'm not saying. But Peyton Pritchard, I mean, he is making these guys that really was just a cast of characters on the Celtics bench, night in and night out. I mean, he's just setting up plays for him. I mean, he is setting the table, and I am loving what I'm seeing. So Peyton Pritchard, huge shout out to you. Undersized guard in the NBA with a game bigger than his body. So that should be a great example for anybody who, is young and aspiring to, go on and make that next step. It's about what's inside, not what's outside. And Peyton Pritchard, he has the heart of a lion and an absolute dog mentality. So that is my underrated player right now. Brad, who you been rocking with? Oh, actually, I guess Cal, you would know Peyton Pritchard. I mean, you've been a fan, so I should give you a moment to kind of because you put me on to him in a lot of senses. Like,
We're kind of fighting over him at this point. I mean, if we've tracked the Kicking It with Cal NBA podcast, I don't think a episode has been mentioned without mentioning Peyton Pritchard's name. And
it's true.
there's a clip that goes around on Twitter of him doing dribbling exercises in his garage. And if I could show that to any athlete I coach or anyone, I mean, as you mentioned, he's maybe 6 foot and he's running circles around people, and to do the little things that he did before he got to Oregon. is huge. And I love his game, so I'm glad he's getting the shine because he deserves it. So, and yeah, we're basically fighting over him. So, Brad, who you got for us?
I'm not gonna fight over y'all players. I have my own. I'm just kidding. My player is very very deep cut, but if you look at the numbers, you'll be like, okay, he should be known at this point. And my player is Keontae George of Utah. Now in Utah, they've been kind of chasing the next Donovan Mitchell since he left. They haven't really, solidified the guard position. They tried with Colin Sexton and others. They had a really good draft, but they had this kid on the roster, and he's been a bench player, but this year he's starting and he's really, taking the reins right now. Right now, I mean, like I said, the Jazz had a great draft. They're competitive this year, and the big reason why is Keontae George. It's his third year in the league, and he's has career highs across the board, including points. He's averaging 24 points a game. He's averaging almost 7 assists a game. He's a career high in free throw percentage. He's over 90% right now. He's shooting 44% from the floor. He has career highs in three-point shooting, and it coincides with minutes because he's getting an opportunity. And now, although, Donovan Mitchell is a more dynamic athlete and had a better start to his career in Utah statistically the first 2 seasons, and honestly, my player comp for Keontae George is like a poor man's Jamal Murray. If you watch him play, he has some of the similar, dribble packages, getting to his spots in the mid range, and obviously coming off screens and knocking down open threes when they're there for him. Not at a high clip, but a clip to make him dangerous. And he's been playing very well. But if you look at year three of Donovan Mitchell and Keontae George, year three, they're identical in points per game. George has more assists. The rebounds are practically the same. 3-point shooting percentage and field goal percentage is the same. And now Donovan Mitchell was a better statistical defender than what Keontae George is right now. But in that third season in Utah, Donovan Mitchell was an all-star. And I'm not saying Keontae George will be an all-star or should, but I think it's something to watch as this team continues to figure out their identity with these young players in Utah. I think they're a great league pass team if you do have league pass. But if you do, and you're watching Utah's Jazz game, you're probably going to see Keontae George getting buckets and creating for others and be like, who is this kid? And I'm telling you, he is probably the next Jamal Murray, in my opinion.
Cool. And you guys know how we like to end it here with one thing on your mind. So, Brad, I'll kick it back to you. What's one thing that's been going on in your life lately, sports related, non-sports related? What's on your mind?
Uh, I with the holiday season, I always want to make sure I'm cognizant of those because the holiday season is usually a happy time for people, but there's a lot of people where the holidays is a reminder of maybe what they have lost, maybe some of the pressures and struggles of of life or circumstances. They may just come to a bud during the holiday season. So I just want to say, if you are watching this or you share this with someone who is having a tough time at holidays, whoever you choose to spend a holiday season with, I hope you have, love, life, and positivity around you to get you through this dark season. Whether it's you get it from one of us on the pod or people that you trust or care about around you. But I know that the holidays can sometimes be hard for people, but for those that it is, much love to you. You got this, and we're gonna start 2026 on a positive note.
Appreciate that, Brad. Dave, what you got?
Wow, Brad, that was really good. Man, I was gonna make some random rants about aliens, y'all, and Epstein files. You already know what I'm coming with. Like, let me just get into it, bro. First of all, like the redactions are crazy. Okay, like you might as well print it on black paper. What are we doing here? Like, release the files. Stop playing with me. Stop playing with us. Release the files. We seen the weird images. Okay, we know everybody and their mama was there. All right, so just give up the list. Okay, give it up. And then also, again, once again, I am in my Bernie Sanders mode. Once again, I am imploring you to please pay attention to the UFO UAP topic, okay? Like, there is a documentary that was recently released on Amazon. It's called Age of Disclosure. I highly recommend people who are unfamiliar with this phenomenon and topic watch it. It is kind of like a crash course for those of you who maybe are just kind of like, I know what a UFO is, but I don't know anything outside of that. And in the long term, Steven Spielberg recently released a trailer also titled All Will Be Disclosed. That is for an upcoming UFO movie that he has releasing in June. Do I think that a documentary with the word disclosure and a major motion picture by Steven Spielberg with the word disclosure are coincidence? No. am I aware of the fact that the producer of the documentary and Steven Spielberg both worked together when they released Ready Player One? Yes. So stuff is going on, people. Pay attention. Call your local reps, okay? Tell them you want them to release the files. Tell them you want all the files, okay? The UFO files, JFK file, the Epstein files, MLK file, whatever they got. Open up the cabinet and give us all the papers, okay? So that is my message this holiday season, okay? Spend time with those that you love, as Brad said, and then all you call, or get in front of TV and watch this documentary, okay? But continue the path forward into the unknown because that is where life gets fun. Okay. Okay. Shine some light in the darkness. Okay. Be that bright light. And most importantly, have a wonderful holiday season. Okay. Holiday season. Holiday season.
And speaking of sci-fi, I got two words for you boys. Stranger Things. I got into it my first year of teaching, 2017. We're in 2025 now, and it's about to wrap up. So I've been rocking with the show for a while. It's taken a long time. These kids are like 30 years old by this point, playing like high school kids, which, it happens in TV. But uh, the latest episodes are dropping on Christmas, and then the final episode on New Year's Eve. So I don't watch a lot of TV. I like The Office. I like Breaking Bad. I like, a few of the big timers, but this is one I've been trying to stay hip with my kids who I teach because they're really into it. So if I drop like a Hawkins reference in the middle of class, they just see all the heads whip back like, "Oh man, Mr. Denicky, like what you know about this?" So I'll be rocking with that, see how it goes. And thanks for everyone for tuning in. I appreciate you. And
Yeah,
until next
could
time.
I just say one thing really quickly? And this is probably gonna be the most controversial thing I say, so that's why I say it for the very end. But listen, if you love Stranger Things and you have HBO, please, for the love of God, please watch it. Welcome to Derry, okay? Because the acting from the child cast in that show puts the and no disrespect to Eleven or Will or any of my crew, okay? Because I was rocking with Stranger Things at the beginning, but it's been 20 years, y'all. I'm tired. I'm not watching it anymore. Okay, please watch It Welcome to Derry. Okay, the acting in that incredible, the storytelling phenomenal, the visual effects you will have nightmares. Okay, but like it's worth it. Like, and Bill Skarsgård has got to win an Emmy or an Oscar, whatever they giving out for acting, because him as Pennywise, like you have not seen anything like this. So please, if you like Stranger Things, check it out. Just check out It Welcome to Derry, and also again, shameless promo. I recently saw The Housemaid. I was unfamiliar. I was unfamiliar. Okay. That movie was good. I see why the books were so popular because that movie was crazy. So if you got a girl and she wants to go see that, like go with her. Go with her. Or if you want to go by yourself, go. But like that movie was wild, worth watching. Cal, thank you as always for letting me get that out, get my rant out. And as always, it's just a pleasure to share time with all you guys and spend time on this pod. So I hope the people who tuned in enjoyed listening to it. I definitely enjoyed listening to you, Cal, and you, Brad, share what's been going on and your thoughts on the NBA season and just life in general. So it's a pleasure as always, gentlemen. Truly a pleasure.
And I just gotta let the people know, David, the amount of time and effort you put in this Halloween spooky season to your Instagram stories and promoting the brand, I'm thoroughly impressed. And you know, Halloween is a special time for you, and I like it, but like tuning into those stories, that was like, all right, now I'm in the mood. So just needed to shout that out. I know we're a couple months from Halloween, but that was cool stuff.
Yeah,
Appreciate
that's
you.
his season. That's your season, bro. That's it.
Spooky season.